Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Scoops. And we got some pretty hot topics to talk about today. So, first on the docket, Rewind. For those of you who don't know Rewind has been a Mortal Kombat top player for the last few installments. Very, very strong player. One of the contenders, win pro competition, like definitely really up there in terms of, player quality. So he tweets talking about prize pools, which has been the source of a lot of discourse around MK1 because, it's new. Pro competition just got announced. And so money is on a lot of people's minds in regard to it. And so he puts out this tweet that's talking about, man, shout out to Warner Brothers for putting on for the community, man. I'm so happy Pro Comp is back. I can't wait for that 5th place bread to come in. And obviously, you might have gained from this that he's being sarcastic here. Because if you look at the breakdown for ECT, this is the prize pool breakdown. And and so Rewind getting 5th, he only gets $350, right? Now, I do not know if this is in addition. I don't know if NRS is doing it in a way that is in addition to the, obviously, the entry fee to the event itself, because people pay $10 to enter tournaments. So if that's in addition, then that's great. If it is just this, then obviously that's not that much. And so Rewind is kind of voicing his discontent with, he wishes there was more money in the events. In the events that he's going to be participating in. Pretty innocuous, it's pretty reasonable to understand why a pro level player would push for there being bigger prize pools. Obviously it makes it sustainable. Pros can actually afford to play the game for a living and not have to worry about being in dire financial straits. So that part to me seems pretty reasonable. Unfortunately though, I think there's some people that kind of took this the wrong way, and so we got into kind of a shitstorm, and it's worth noting that there's kind of voice solidarity in the comments with this as well, which is really funny because Rewind saying should have streamed the event instead. It actually is a big deal, right? I'll really talk about this, right? This is a big deal, right? Anytime that you have, if you have a competition where people feel like it would be more beneficial, more financially stable for them to stay home and stream, that makes it so less people want to actually travel to your events and participate in the pro competition. Fighting games in and of themselves do not promote an ecosystem that allows for people to do it full time, right? And so more people will sit at home and say oh, I'll just stream it. I'll just restream the event. You get a ton of views when you restream events. You get subs. You get directly, you get donations. You get supported financially directly without having to worry about how you perform and anything like that. And so this is important. And I hope companies are paying attention to this, because the more you mess up, right? The more people decide to just stay home and stream, and then you have less names that show up to the pro competition, which delegitimizes it, and all of your marketing costs went down the drain essentially. And so I do hope that they're paying attention to stuff like this, because we want to kind of discourage this from being the mentality. Should have restreamed the event instead. We want people to feel making the trip to go to these events is actually worth it. So important. He says it, and then we get this. And so this guy is Nobi Fashion. I don't know anything about him, straight up. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say anything. I do know a few things. I know that Nobi is the people that put on the Sonic versus Waka exhibition that happened a while back. And so Nobi Fashion, it says founder and co-owner of Nobi Gaming. So he wants to speak on this. And he says this: anybody that we booked versus Waka versus Sonic event player wise did not see less than damn near second place. So they got paid just to play for fun. but I'll probably never do an event in this format again because people complained about having to miss work when they're flying out to events for $100+ What the fuck? You paid that just to Uber to the airport. For those who don't know me, I'm Big Fash. I say what everybody's scared to say. Okay, 100. Okay, this is dumb. Okay, this is dumb. This is a very, very dumb sentiment expressed by Nobi Fashion. And let me explain to you why. So first of all, the only reason he makes this post is to gas himself, right? It's to gas himself in his events. Because the opening statement, anyone we booked for Waka Sonic did not see less than damn near second place. So he's saying pretty much everyone that went to that event saw at least 2250 or more, right? Damn near. So he's saying, you know, like we're giving money to the players and nobody else is. So you should support Nobi Gaming and our events because we're doing it right and everyone else is doing it wrong, right? So that in and of itself, like that approach to this is like just like oozes ego to me, and also like kind of putting other events down. To me, like, you know, ECT, like this is pretty much saying like ECC is trash. You shouldn't have went. You should go to my events instead. That's dumb. That is an extrapolation, obviously, but ECT is a great event, and there's a ton of great fighting game events that don't have the money to just put in players' pockets, and so you should not bash them for that, right? Like that is not the way that you should be going, especially since you're an outside entity. Like Nobi Gaming is an outside entity that's looking to get into fighting games and do more big events and more important events, and like you really step on toes and you sacrifice business relationships whenever you say things like this. And so I hope he decides to reconsider making really dumb statements like this in the future. But it doesn't end there. He also goes on to say, but I'll probably never do an event in that format again, because people complained about having to miss work when they're flying out to events for $100+. This is so dumb. This is like the more egregious of the two to me, because like you're mad that people have jobs and they have lives. Like that is a very real, like that's a valid complaint. Like having to spend PTO or take days off, God forbid, like maybe you don't even have PTO. Maybe you just like actually have to take off and not get and like that's a big deal for people. You have to travel, right? And so like, yeah, I really don't get where he's coming from here, because like to me, like if people are complaining about those things, those are valid complaints. And part of the thing about being a tournament organizer is hearing all the complaints, regardless of whether they're legitimate or not legitimate, and dealing with it, right? Like accepting them and trying to become better because of it. This just, to me, I'm reading this and I'm feeling like he's just insecure, right? He's insecure. Like people are gonna complain. Like, of course, they have lives, they have different, you don't know where people are coming from, you don't know what their circumstances are. Like, yeah, they're gonna, if they feel like they're inconvenienced in a way, they're gonna complain about it, and that's just something that you have to deal with. So yeah, I don't like this. I really don't like this response. But it made it even worse that more than just me caught on, it turns out. So it wasn't just me that caught on to this. We also have Punk out here saying, let me understand this. Man Mad Rewind wanted to go to a pro comp event for a game he takes seriously and want to win in, but also salty he don't want to take off work to come play in friendly exhibition, but he probably didn't even want to pay for him from the sound of it. Please, FGC, don't fall for anything that this idiot says or does. And so like Punk is taking this as, you know, like you can't get mad at him. You can't get mad that Rewind wanted to go to an official pro competition offline, which there's not many of them, by the way. There's not many pro competition offlines in the first place. But at the same time, you want to turn around and get mad that, you know, Rewind doesn't want to take off work, right? He doesn't want to take off work to go to or to participate in whatever Nobi Gaming is running. That's how I understand it from what Punk is saying. It just comes off like kind of disrespectful, right? Like that's what Punk is saying. Like he just doesn't feel like this is the way that you want to do. Tweety following up as well. Rewind went to your event and said great things about it. Now you're throwing shade, right? And so like the top players are not responding well to this, and that's probably pretty good, because like I think this statement was really trash. Like I think it was really bad, and so I'm glad to see that people are rightfully answering this. I had an issue with Nobi Gaming anyway, because like people from the fighting games have a really big issue with people on the outside that don't know the culture, that don't know what we've been through, don't know the struggles, they don't know the people, they don't know the players, they don't know the this and that, right? there's a lot of people on the outside that don't know those things and are trying to profit off of fighting games. And if you go and watch my video on Waka versus Sonic, I talk about that. I talk about exactly that. And so I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to hear my thoughts on that in particular. And that is a more direct assessment of Nobi Gaming and their event. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. He did also do a follow-up here, pretty much throwing more shade, talking about shout outs to the people that reach out, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much feeling like he's victimized in some place, like he feels like he's a victim in all of this. People are out to get him, this and that. Honestly, it feels like a lot of this is performative and really just like doing it to farm responses, to get replies, to get more attention on him and his events. All I can say is if you don't like what he's saying, and I don't, you're better off just ignoring him. That's the best thing I can say. If they decide to like get their shit together and do good things for the fighting game community, then we'll handle that then. But until then, it just seems like this is just not really how you want to be interacting with people. And he also makes it work. It makes it worse. He has a lot of people that are yes men in his replies that he's constantly replying to, like that are like, yeah, bro, they don't know you. You're real. I don't know. It's so funny. Anytime that someone's like, you know, I'm real and I say the things that people are afraid to say, it's so often that they're just spouting nonsense. And so like, yeah, I think this is just another instance of that. So yeah, so that's the end of that. Mortal Kombat, Warner Brothers like really needs to think about what they're doing in terms of their pro competition. To a lot of people, it feels really underwhelming. There's actually one more thing that I do want to bring up about this. This was Sonic, because Rewind made a tweet before assessing prize pools, right? This was the one before. Only person that can influence NRS to do anything about the awful prize pools is probably Sonic Fox, but bro stays silent as fuck on these topics since bro is the poster child and he wins everything. I actually think this is kind of fucked up for Rewind to do, kind of throwing his friend under the bus. I know they're friends. I know they're friends and everything, but like this puts a lot of pressure on Sonic to do something that they may not actually have that much power to change. And like he might feel like, you know, Sonic's the only one with that influence, but how do we even know that Sonic has that influence in the first place? Obviously NRS loves them, but in terms of the tour, I gotta imagine most of that's Warner Brothers putting money out, not really NRS directly. So yeah, I don't really like that approach. But Sonic responded with, my only opinion is that I'm shocked NRS or Warner Brothers doesn't use the crowdfunding skins like they did with MKX. MK1 legitimately could have had the most fighting game prize pool with his players today and went back to a formula we know works already. This is a great take from Sonic. This would be great. This would be fantastic if they decided to do crowdfund skins again. It was very successful before, like you said, and so I would love to see them go back to that. And that puts a lot of money out there for the Pro Tour, a lot of money potentially in players' pockets. I would love to see them do that. Now, we don't know the business side of things. We don't know why Warner Brothers is kind of, scaling back how much they're putting out there for the tour. Whether that's, budget issues or this or that. Maybe they didn't get approved for as much as they wanted to. Don't know the business end. Will we ever know? I don't know. We'll stay tuned for that. See how things go. But that's the end of the MK1 stuff. Now I want to cover some Smash stuff because we have more developments. As you guys know, recently they put out the community guidelines, the community tournament guidelines, pretty much stating that if you want to run a tournament, you have to have these requirements and these restrictions and whatnot. And so there's been stuff brewing, mainly centered around Hungrybox, who, for those of you who don't know, is a very, very, very prolific Smash player, one of the best players of all time in Super Smash Bros. Melee, also pretty good in Smash Bros. Ultimate as well. Hungrybox is pretty much the cornerstone of the online tournament community for Smash right now because he runs the Coin Box. The Coin Box is a weekly tournament for Ultimate and Melee that there's $3,000 prize pool every week because Team Liquid has Coinbase as a sponsor, and so they're able to put in these prize pools week in and week out, and they get a ton of entrants. Like I'm talking like 600 700 entrants for online tournaments. Big, these are huge. Coinbox is like definitely a very, very important part of the Smash ecosystem. And so Hungrybox is taking all of the things that he hears about, and he's talking about like, where do we go from here? Because people are gonna have to change up how they approach things now that the new guidelines are out. And the main thing that we want to talk about is this post right here, where he says the very sad part about this is if Nintendo decides to contact him, Ultimate Coin Box hopefully will be able to continue with license, being able to obtain a license for the tournament. Melee Coin Box will come to an end since it's a modded version of the game. So this is important. Melee is run on Slippy. Slippy is what is used to give Melee rollback, right? Also gets some quality of life features as well. And since it technically is a modified version of the game, there's no way Nintendo would go for it. And so Melee would essentially lose their biggest weekly should this licensing should Nintendo decide to pursue. And so that's a big deal. Unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. Ultimate hopefully be able to continue, but we actually don't know about this because one of their sponsors is Coinbase, and while Coinbase does not pay out in crypto, they do not pay out in crypto. That was a big concern for a lot of people. They don't pay out in crypto, but they are a big name sponsor that Nintendo definitely is aware of. Like they definitely know who Coinbase is, what they do, and what they're about. And there's a very realistic chance that they're like, you know, we don't want to be associated with that. So you actually can't have, you can't run, you know, online tournaments of this size with Coinbase as a sponsor. So like that's actually a very big worry. I'm actually quite worried for the online tournament ecosystem for Smash because this is really ugly stuff and I'm not sure what they're gonna do about it. But more on top of that, we have more people coming out of the woodwork. You know, Smash is a very, very big fighting game community. There's a ton of people in it. There's a ton of takes. There's a ton of people that contribute. And one of those people that contribute a ton is the Crimson Blur. Personal friend. Blur has done a lot to keep this game alive, especially the competitive aspects. He's one of the people that always goes to bat for Melee. Always. And he always will. And so he puts out this tweet that's talking about, it begins, Hungrybox is sacrificing Melee Coin Box in the hope of getting a license for Alt Coin Box. Can't blame him, but it hurts to see. Unfortunately, the guidelines specifically point out that virtual currencies in their blacklist, so who knows if you'll even get a license even for that. And people were mad at his wording here because he says sacrificing, right? When in reality, like if you go and you scour Hungrybox's timeline, Hungrybox actually used that he used that terminology himself on his stream. He called it sacrificing. And so like people should not be mad about that. I get it, but yeah, we should at least if you're gonna be upset about the right things, right? I wouldn't be mad at this. And Crimson Blur even goes far enough to say, like, you know, I don't blame Hungrybox. It's just unfortunate, right? Melee's been screwed over a ton over the years by Nintendo. This is just another one of those instances. And yeah, so that's what he felt about that. Hungrybox did respond. He said, I fought for Melee to be added for Coinbox all of 2022, 2023, streamed it every week, moved it to Tuesday, donated 100% of your winnings, paid out 100K, right? This is all huge. This is all really big things, right? And I'm sure every Melee player is grateful to him for doing that. But I don't think that Blur was really going at him here. So like, yeah, a little bit of sown discourse because of that. People were mad, rightfully so. The main thing that I can say on all of this is don't let this distract you from the fact that the one causing all of this is Nintendo, right? It is Nintendo at the end of the day that is causing all this misfortune. People are allowed to have different perspectives and different takes on what we should do next, how we should approach things moving forward. But at the end of the day, it is Nintendo that caused all this. And so if you're out there and you're a Smash player and you're feeling upset, as you should be, please direct your energy towards the people that are doing this to you. And that is Nintendo. Try not to go at Blur, try not to go at Hungrybox because they really are putting in a ton of work for the community. And they're not free from criticism, but you can't blame a TO for having to make changes, especially whenever, you know, the other side of it is getting sued by Nintendo, right? Getting a cease and desist is not good for anyone. So if he has to make, you know, sacrifices or change things up because of it, it's just how it is. And that's just how I feel about that. So, and that is all I have to cover for this second edition of Scoops. Obviously, this weekend we have First Attack. It's a tournament in Puerto Rico coming up this weekend. They have a bunch of different games. We'll be tuning in. If you want to watch with us, you can watch at twitch.tv/Khalil_. We'll be covering that this weekend. And whenever I get enough topics to do another Scoops, that's when you can expect the next episode. So thank you all for tuning in to this episode, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Till next time.